1, 2, 3. Up in the hills of Northern California, we believe America is the home of the brave.
Home of the brave.
Home of the brave.
We are home of the brave. Welcome, everybody. This is Carpenter, my partner here, myself,
Hello.
Terry Rapoza, and we are here with Jefferson State of Mind, M-I-N-E.
Mine.
Mine. Was that Finding Nemo? It was. Yeah, it was. I know.
Mine.
We had 5 kids. I've seen every Disney movie, and grandkids, I've seen every Disney movie ever made. We're here. We're podcasting live, and we are also archived. Mm-hmm. We are Jefferson State of Mind, M-I-N-E. You can find us on Mountaintop Media.
Yeah.
If you use your search engine and go there, and you can find us on Facebook under Jefferson State of Mind. And remember, it's M-I-N-E. It's ours.
Yep.
How are you, my good friend?
I'm doing well.
Good. Got a little project in the kitchen, huh? Or all over the house, flooring?
Whole house, yeah. We're doing a little bit of a remodel update, so it's all good. We had water damage, so we recovered from that, and it just kind of perpetuated everything. And we're open the purse strings and empty them real quick. You know that because that's what you went through last year.
Absolutely. We have liberty damage here in Shasta County.
Yes, we do.
big liberty damage. It's funny because this particular event that's happening today here in Shasta County.
Yeah. It's the walkout rally, and it's happening at 10 a.m. at the Riverfront Park, which is next to the auditorium and the rodeo grounds. And it's at the little amphitheater, which is the grass area with a stage next to the river. And it says parking might be a little tight, so come early if you can to get there. You might have to walk a little bit, which is fine. Walking's not going to hurt anybody. And just spread the word and let everybody know. And bring signs, and you might want to bring an umbrella, maybe. I don't know. Depends on if it's going to rain again or not. And bring chairs, because I don't think you're going to want to sit on the grass after the rains last night. So you might want to bring a chair or two, and everybody go there and support each other and have a good time.
Yeah. Also, they suggest you bring a lunch and cross-pollinate a bit.
There you go.
But these people, the bravery of the teachers, the bravery of the parents to hold their kids out of school. I mean, seriously, they're going to mandate that the teachers are vaccinated, healthcare workers are vaccinated. This is an absolutely totalitarian, just evil thing that this governor is doing here in California.
And it's a mandate. People forget that it's not law. And even if it was law, who said it's lawful?
Well put.
It's not lawful, even if it were law, but it's not law. It's mandate, which he's mandating that you do something. So that's a very strong suggestion.
It is.
Damn it, just do it. Do what I'm telling you. Just do it. Just comply. Oh, they didn't say comply, did they? They're saying mandate. They don't use the word comply because the rest of us who don't comply say that. We will not comply. We shall not comply, right?
Yes.
There you go. So they're not even using the word in that sense to even come close to saying that. They're saying a mandate because, by gosh, they want you to do it no matter what.
Yeah, and I was listening to a local radio program on my way here, and their guest was speaking, and the host was talking about the vaccination. Well, it's really not a vaccination, but the COVID the jab.
Oh, the
antifreeze
jab.
The antifreeze jab, yeah. And so anyway, what she was saying, well, this is something, it's law. It's like a seatbelt. And the host made the comment, well, a seatbelt, I don't lose my job. I don't even lose driving privileges. If I get a ticket, I just get a ticket. And then again, so I just couldn't help myself. I had to call in, and I did. And I said, really, you're talking about something going into your body you don't want. Where in the Constitution and where in the law does it say that the government has the right to make you do something for your health and put something into your body or your children's body you don't want? And you called it a vaccination. And how dare you compare it to a seatbelt? Seriously?
Yeah.
You call it a vaccination, it's not. You have to remember that people who are fully vaccinated still get this stuff. In fact, we just heard last week that a gentleman died, fully vaccinated with a booster, died of COVID. Somebody who my family knows.
So did he have other conditions that may have warranted that?
No.
Or were they triggered by the vaccines?
That's what a lot of people think. It could have been triggered by the vaccine because of his heart. There's heart palpitation. But anyway,
Right.
I also said that that there is nothing at all that the government can do to mandate you. There's a thing called separation of powers, and the legislative body is the only body that can make laws, not the governor. And I also said,
not the president.
And not the president.
It's the legislative body of both the federal government and your state government.
That's right, my friend. That's absolutely right. So many people get that wrong. And I said, a mandate is simply what? It becomes a rule. And if enough people do it, it's a rule. That's the rules. Well, what rule?
Yeah.
How does that rule?
And it's not rule of law.
Right, exactly. And how does that rule overcome your constitutionally protected rights?
It doesn't.
It doesn't.
It doesn't.
And have you ever heard of the word inalienable?
Right.
Okay, but I was surprised that the host let me keep going, to be honest with you. So I said, really and truly, the New Orleans Saints had 7 coaches down that were fully vaccinated with boosters, and they were down on COVID. The San Francisco Giants at one point, fully vaccinated pitchers couldn't even field a pitching staff. And not only that, but there is no consequences, or there's nothing if this vax goes wrong by the people who've created and made this vaccine, the pharmaceutical companies. There's nothing that you can do to them. So would you buy brakes and put them in your car and then take your kids and grandkids for a ride? And the brakes aren't guaranteed.
Right.
There is no consequences, and your brakes go out on you, and your grandkids and kids get hurt. And they just say, hey, that's luck of the draw.
Yeah.
Really and truly, but I've got a solution for this. Buy more toilet paper.
That's always your solution. Buy more toilet paper.
You know?
You're the reason Costco doesn't
That's
have
right.
any.
Buy more toilet paper. That'll solve everything.
It solves everything.
And that's part of the problem we have. I mean, we got that done. Let's go have a barbecue.
Well, yesterday, my family and I went to church, and finally, our pastor was talking about sovereignty, was talking about liberty, was talking about justice. Biblically, but do you know what? He was saying everything that we've been saying this entire time. Well, since we've been doing this since, 2013? So he's finally saying these things in this it's the largest church in Redding. And he does do that, or he did do that, and it was surprising. My wife looks at me, and I look at her, and then two of our other friends that attend church, we all kind of look at each other like, "Huh, what's going on here?" And you could kind of see the sense in the crowd. So we started watching the people, and people were like looking around. It's like the people get it. He finally caught up to the people. He's finally stepping up there and taking the bull by the horns and saying what needs to be said to his flock. He's finally doing it. And I was pleasantly surprised, put it that way, pleasantly surprised. And everything he said was in lockstep with what we've been talking about this entire time. Was
there any conversation you had with other people after that?
Yeah, we talked about it out in the lobby. And everybody's like, okay, it's about time. So how many people are going to get that? Because there's a certain amount of people that come. It's like, okay, it just kind of goes over their head. They're just going because they go to church for the sake of just going to church, and that's it. So are they thinking about what was said? I don't know. But he said it. And it goes out. He's videoed live and everything else, and he's got it recorded. So you can go back through and you can listen and watch the watch the service. And so you can do all that. But it was very surprising that happened. To me, anyway. I was definitely taken back, and I was pleasantly surprised.
Yes.
Finally, it's like, hello. Finally, there's somebody that is supposed to be doing it, because that's when didn't the Black Robe Brigade do that?
Yes.
Back when when we were fighting England to become our own country. They were helping all the people, the farmers, and everybody else, even the soldiers that were in the military, but it's just everybody else that was just fighting for our liberty. They were in the mix of it. They were helping. They were doing everything they could possibly do for us to fight for liberty. Now we're fighting for liberty now, and finally we have one of our own here locally is starting to do it, which is it surprised me. It really just surprised me.
I think it's great.
Yeah, I thought it was great too.
When you go back to Williamsburg, Virginia, if you've never been there, it's amazing. It's the largest living historical, I guess you could call it a monument, I guess, but they have people that live in Williamsburg that actually live the life you would live in 1774.
So like a living museum
A
type
living
thing.
museum,
Yeah.
exactly. That's what I was looking for. Thank you, brother. And so what happens is that, let's say that when you and I go back there, we want to live there. Okay, let's say we want to be gunsmiths. We have to apprentice for 5 years.
Before you can become a
Yeah, you have to actually do the apprenticing for it. It's really cool.
That's awesome.
And they do sell guns back there. The last I heard, but this was, I don't know, maybe 10 years ago, the price of one of those guns that they make is about 15 grand, and that was 10 years ago. It's probably like 30 grand now.
Wow.
But it's pretty amazing. So no matter what you do, whether you're a blacksmith, they have everything is historically accurate, and it's when you first start the tour, you start at the church, and the church was actually, in this case, it's north of town, and it's you've got to walk into the town. But the parsons and pastors would come out of the church on Sunday, and they would preach in the town square,
Okay.
which was really cool. It's kind of like, Jesus went out amongst the people. So did the pastors and parsons. And the church wasn't always used for a service. It was used for a lot of other things for the community. And I think that we've lost so much of that in our country. The other thing that was really neat about that was the fact that, people in those days were having trouble getting Bibles because you could only have the English version. Okay.
Okay.
So they started, and the hard thing was to bind them, because it was, they wouldn't, so what they did is they got unbound Bibles and they bound them there in Williamsburg,
Okay.
which was really kind of cool.
So they have that binding process going on there as well?
Right there as well. And when you're on the tour, you can go into that. And then, of course, at the end, there's usually a battle, which is a lot of fun with reenactors. But it's pretty amazing. In fact, they have, I'm trying to remember the tavern, shame on me, that Jefferson and everybody drank at, where they were just, that this is the place they went, that one particular tavern. Anyway, I had a beer there.
For the sake of
Which,
it.
couldn't help myself. But it was pretty neat. It was just an amazing, it's an amazing place. And, you can go and you can eat food of the times and put the silverware and the stuff of the times. Nothing is really modern. And then you walk across the street and you're at a Starbucks in St. Mary's College, So it's really quite an interesting trip. And I recommend that area there. You can, and of course, Yorktown's right there, It's just an amazing place.
What's the tourism like there? Was it pretty busy when you went?
Yeah. Well, I think we always kind of like to go in September. I think it was we went the last time.
All right.
The first day we went to Washington, D.C., and we spent the whole day in the Holocaust Museum. I had been there twice previously with my two of my sons, and Sally had been there with one of our daughters. And but you only got when you went back with the schools. These schools had special trips.
Right.
When you graduate, you spend a week in Washington, D.C. and Williamsburg, et cetera, et cetera. But Sal and I went back a couple of times on our own because we really didn't get the time we wanted to spend in the Holocaust Museum. And the Holocaust Museum is the most heartbreaking and the most inspirational place you'll ever be. It's incredible. There's no way you can get through it in 3 hours. We took a whole day.
Oh, wow.
We added an extra day to our trip to go to the Holocaust Museum, but just to see how the Nazis turned the Jewish population into saying that they weren't even real. They were basically genetically formed from the rat. And you can walk in and see all the propaganda when you first start the tour, you go down an elevator. And it's the elevator that goes down that's similar to where you would be if you were going down into one of the concentration camps.
Oh, wow.
And you get a card and you become that person. You're that person. And at the end you find out whether you survived or you didn't survive. And it's just, you go in some certain places. There's certain places I know when we went back with the high school kids that they kind of warned us not to go in there. There's some very graphic things there. They don't pull any punches. They show you one of the rail cars that's probably about the size of the room we're in right here, that they put like 80 or 90 people in.
Holy cow.
And they used to take their hair. They use that for things, all their shoes, just all this stuff that's in that is just... It's incredible. And people think, well, that can't happen here. Well, you know what, folks? That is happening here. You've got to understand we now have segregation by Brandon, right? Yeah. Oh, let's go, Brandon. Let's go, Brandon. Buy some toilet paper. And really you stop and think about this and you're kind of going, okay, Biden is trying to separate people by whether you get a vaccine or you don't, and he's getting impatient. How in the hell do we have this particular moron, sick moron, dementia-laced moron, as a president? What is wrong with people? If you're listening to this, either now or later, please share it. Also, there's something else we need. And you have the address of, on Oregon, the address for where they send money to help us?
On Oregon?
Yeah, on Oregon. Isn't that it? Oregon Trail? Aren't we? Isn't that where the office is, where we receive the...
Oh.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about.
Okay.
Okay. So anyway, sorry about that.
You're saying something without saying
Not enough
something.
coffee. Anyway, if you want to help us out here, you can write a check out. Wynn's going to give the address here in a moment, but you can write a check out. You write the check out to Pecan, Pecan. That's Pecan, and then in the memo portion, please put media, 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 media. And Wynn will give you the address here in a moment. Here we go.
Okay, and the address that can be mailed to is 14421. Again, 14421 Old Oregon Trail, and that's Redding, California, 96003. Again, 14421 Old Oregon Trail, Redding, California, 96003.
Right, and you can make it out to Pecan, Pecan, and in the memo portion, please put media.
Yeah, I was lost when you were saying Oregon. It's like, what? Okay, I got it now. Pecan, you wanted the Pecan address because that's our...
I know.
Yeah, our nonprofit that pays for everything that we do, because we've been paying for it for a long time, right?
Yes.
And then so we're going through that part of the process, and it's tax deductible.
It is tax deductible because it's a 501c3, folks.
501c3, yep.
And it's really important that, we need to help out here. These podcasts, no matter whether you listen to ours or you listen to the Patriot State of Mind, Sovereign Minds, no matter what you listen to, this all costs money, and we're trying to build something here so that we can get the word out to folks. We have a phone line now, too. Do we have the several lines? Guys, do we have the several lines now, or just one at a time?
We
have 2 lines now.
2 lines, good.
Okay, so, and that phone number is 530 255-8063. So that's 255-8063, area code 530. Now, that's good for all the programs, isn't it, Dustin? I know this sounds like I'm talking to myself, but he's in my ear. In fact, I've got Dustin in one ear and Eli in the other. I've got them both in my ears. But anyway, we need to be looking at this. And the Holocaust Museum, if you've never been there, and you go back to Washington, D.C., I highly recommend that. That in Williamsburg. And everything's so close. And of course, Arlington's amazing. But, when you stop and think about what our country's gone through, and that's why we started this out with the term home of the brave, because it really is home of the brave, and we need to be brave right now. And these folks that are standing up, taking their kids out of school today,
right,
that are standing up here in this community, in many other communities, by saying, no, you will not do this to my child. You have no right to do this to my child. You have no right to do this to us. This is a mandate. It's a suggestion. Now, here's the way they're trying to get around the mandate. Or to make you follow the mandate. We're in a state of emergency. No,
we're not.
We're not, because the only time you can have a state of emergency is when the threat overwhelms the resources of the county.
Hospitals, all the
everything,
services. Yeah.
All the resources are overwhelmed.
Right.
Now, what county in California are they overwhelmed? Can you say none? Because that's what it is.
Nunn County, huh?
Nunn County.
Nunn County.
Nunn County. Nunn County.
Nunn County.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
So, when you stop and look at what this governor is doing to us and how this president is reacting to everything. And here's the other thing, too. We talk about the state of Jefferson. The word state, folks, is synonymous with the word country.
Country, yep.
Now, I know that we've said this 100 times, my good friend, but, a lot of people haven't heard this. When Jefferson spoke of the state of Virginia, He said the state of Virginia is likened to the state of Spain, France, and Great Britain. It's a country. When the 13 countries got together, they decided to do something so they wouldn't be shooting each other across the border. They'd have the same money. They could be protected from foreign powers trying to overtake their country.
The 13 countries being the 13 colonies that we've all known
13
about.
states.
And 13 states that we've been taught, hopefully, about in school at some point. Yeah.
Well, some people not the kids now.
No, not now. And that's the scary part. Yeah.
So what they did is they decided to write this thing called the Constitution. Now, the Constitution was not our rights. A lot of people say, I have constitutional rights. No, you don't. You have God-given rights.
God-given rights.
The Constitution protects those.
Protected by the Constitution.
Right. And what that is that gives the government, the federal government, powers that they have only granted to them by the 13 countries, the 13 states.
Right.
Now, when they got together, this thing was called a compact. Now, what's a compact and a contract? When and I decide to go into business, we do a contract. It's two sovereign citizens doing a contract. A compact is an agreement, a contract between sovereign governments, which is what this was. When they formed this compact, the federal government became the product of the compact.
Right.
How can the product have any say
over its creator?
Yeah, it's the creation now has taken over the creator.
Right.
And it's sort of like we heard one of our supervisors here in Shasta County say, well, we have a social contract. Bullshit. There's no such thing as a social contract.
It would be the same as you or me taking over God's place.
Yeah.
He created us. We are in likeness of him. We were God's creation. For one of us to have the audacity and the stupidity to think that we could be taking over his power and his control and his mindset and everything that he's ever created, that's non-negotiable, unacceptable, and is not going to happen.
Well, it's ridiculous.
So it's the same application to what we're talking about with the government.
Absolutely.
Same application. How is that
Absolutely.
possible? It's not. And people have to understand that. It's not possible. It's not going to happen. And we have to start fighting it. Well, not start. We have to continue fighting it. We've been fighting it for how long? And I know there are people who've been fighting it on different levels for many, many years. We have to come together united. We have to come together and fight. And we're all under the same umbrella. We're all sovereign citizens of this beautiful country. We have to fight for it. And we're fighting the domestic terrorists that are creating this. And they are that. Those people that are doing this garbage. And not one legislator in our state, we'll use our state as an example, which one of those are stepping up and saying, hey, no more, we're done? None of them. So what does that tell you? They all need to go. Every single one of them need to go. They're not supporting their sovereign citizens of their districts throughout their Senate district or their assembly district. They're not supporting them. Ours aren't. What are they doing? Do you ever hear from them? Do you ever see them? I don't. I haven't. And I'm linked to a lot of these things. I just don't see it. I don't see it on the social media. I don't see it anywhere. So what are they really doing for all this money that they're getting paid and all these benefits they're going to have for life? What the hell are they doing? And, my understanding is they all have families. What are they doing for their family other than enriching themselves? That's all they're doing. That's all they're doing is enriching themselves. They're not out there fighting the fight for all of us, for all their constituents. It's not happening.
And it always goes back to apportionment.
Right.
You can't, even if you wanted to do the right thing, how are you going to do it if you represent 500,000 people?
And you have, within your district, you have conflicting issues going on within your district. You could have something that's more rural that needs to be addressed, but then you have something that's more urban that needs to be addressed, and they're in conflict. Well, how do you do that, and how do you balance it? I don't know. I'm not there. But there's got to be a way to make it work. And I agree with you. Representation has to be brought down to a workable level. It absolutely has to. And, one of our representatives, they have 11 counties. How does that work?
A senator, yeah.
Yeah, how does that work? It doesn't. And then the territory of those 11 counties is huge. It's bigger than some states on the East Coast. Seriously bigger. Some of our counties in our district are bigger than some of the states geographically than some of the states on the East Coast. And they have far better representation. So what do? I don't know. We create a new state. Bingo. There you go. That's why we're here.
That's why we're here. You have to bring down the apportionment.
Yeah.
That's all there is to it. And, there's a lot of movements going on now. There's like Greater Idaho, which to me, I've talked to the leaders of that. What they want to do is they want to basically annex some counties from Oregon and bring them into Idaho. Now, a couple things there. Number one, does Idaho want them? Number two, does Oregon want to give them up? And oh, by the way, don't forget to add in some Northern California counties.
So you're going to have 3 state legislatures that are going to have to try to work this out that will not work it out. They're not even going to address it. They're not even going to deal with it. So it's not going to go anywhere. And the mindset of, is it a worthy cause? Yeah, if you can make it work, but you're not going to be able to make it work. How are you going to have 2 democratic states, truly, Oregon and California, who are just one and the same, cut from the same cloth? How are they going to be able to work with Idaho legislature? Not going to happen. And my understanding is that legislature is turning a little bit blue as well.
Well, yeah.
So how are you going to have all these conservative folks working with all these liberal-minded people that are not going to even address what they say? They're not going to answer the calls. They're not going to do anything. How does that work?
Well, how the hell do you legally even make it work? The only way you can create a state is Article 4, Section 3.
State split, yep.
That's creating a state within a state with the simple majority of the Congress of the United States and the legislative body of the said state this is happening in.
Right.
So you've got like a couple of counties in Oregon, and that was one of the things that was brought up by Sean Hannity when I watched this one clip. And there's a couple of counties, and they're very poor counties. So first of all, Oregon has to let them go to Idaho. That's one complete Article 4, Section 3. Then there's another complete Article 4, Section 3 in Idaho saying we want them. And then then you have to have another Article 4, Section 3 with California in the counties that Greater Idaho wants, and they're not contiguous. So there's a gap between. They're not connected. I mean, the whole thing is bizarre. So Sean Hannity finally said to this guy, does Idaho even want you? And this was the response, and this is one of the problems we have. Well, we have to do something. Oh, okay. Well, you have to. Buy more toilet paper.
Well, you're right. You have to do something, but do your homework first.
Having to do something. What sense does that make? You have to do something that's going to work legally.
Right.
So, you stop and think about this, all these great ideas, and then I had a guy call me the other day, and there's 2 movements in Nevada. One's New Nevada, which wants to do something similar to what Jefferson wants to do, okay, which is
create a state within a state.
And using Article 4, Section 3. Then there's a new one that wants to add in some counties from California, and I believe it was Modoc, Sierra, Plumas, Lassen, and Shasta, Siskiyou. Well, okay, and they want to add that they want to bring those counties over to Nevada. Okay, how do you do that? Oh, wait, Article 4, Section 3, and why would California get rid of those? And why would Nevada want them? Because, see, the thing that people don't realize is that we have given, remember we talked about the countries, the states.
Yep.
We have given the federal government powers that we gave them. If we don't like what we gave them, we get together and we do an amendment.
Right.
Okay. So
that comes out of the rule book.
That comes out of the rule book. Okay.
Yep.
So the deal is that, so how does that work? The response I get, it sounded really good. Well, we need to start understanding how things work.
Yeah.
We hear all these different things like there's federal land. Well, there is federal land. Do you know why there's federal land? Because the states, or a said state, said, yeah, we'll sell that to you.
Well, did they sell it, or did they just give them governing
They could have given them governing powers, either way. Or they sold some of it, too. There's different ways you can do it. The point is it has to be done by the session, capital CESSION, of the states. The state has to agree to it. All these different things that happen have to be agreed to.
Right.
And that's the problem. So we go all the way back to the mandate. If everybody agrees on the mandate, does it become law or just a rule? Well, it never becomes law unless the legislative body says this is law it's passed.
That's right.
And how do you pass a mandate that goes against the Constitution? You can't in California because of Article 3, Section 1, which specifically states that the United States Constitution is recognized as the supreme law of the land. in California, and California is an inseparable part of that.
That's right.
Okay, and so since that's in there, how does that work? Now, I did an interview yesterday. Was it yesterday? Saturday? I don't remember. Anyway, it was Saturday, I believe.
Okay, Saturday.
A Saturday morning, and I did an interview, and with that'll be coming out along with other people. Carlos Zapata was in that interview, Woody Clendenin, et cetera. There's anyway, and I'm sure those guys will be talking about that maybe even as early as tonight when they do their podcast. But anyway, we were talking about that sort of thing, and we talked about the legalities of how we make things happen. And we talked about the rule of law. And this young lady who is doing all these different interviews interviewed New California, Cal Exit. Okay, I didn't even know they're still around. They're still around. So when she said, well, I interviewed the people of Cal Exit, what the people in Cal Exit want to do is they want to leave the United States and take California and create it their own country.
Interesting.
Now, the way they would do that is they have when they did their first initiative on that, what they wanted to do was, remember we talked about Article 3, Section 1. We talked about how the state of California recognizes the Constitution of the United States as the supreme law of the land.
Right.
And they're an inseparable part of that. Well, if they delete that particular article, they delete that, Article 1, Section 3, Article 3, Section 1, excuse me. When they delete that, then all of a sudden, boom, it's gone. And that's how they want to have their own country. So my question to the interviewer was, would California in their own country have nuclear weapons? Would they, she got quite a charge out of that. Would they have nuclear weapons? And would we let them have nuclear weapons? How would Nevada feel about that?
Right.
You know, I mean, it's just insanity what people are doing. That's why I think that the state of Jefferson has so many people who really stick to the idea. It's Article 4, Section 3. It's constitutional. There's many ways to do that.
And it's been done before.
It has been done before.
4 times before.
Yes, sir.
And so we would be the 5th one to do that. We know that. We've done our homework. We've done all that. We know we've hit some bumps in the road going through the process, but we've learned from doing that. And we're constantly doing it. So we've been doing it since 2013 on this latest movement of Jefferson's, or at least separating from California as Jefferson, or whatever we decide to name it. And that's the beauty of this whole thing. We're going to vote on everything. We're going to vote in the name of the state. We're going to vote on the flag. We're going to vote, you name it, it's going to be voted on. And it's going to be put out there publicly so people know what they're voting on. And the votes will, my guess, would probably be, maybe a paper ballot. Because, when they used to do the paper ballots, they had the results the next day. And they could audit those. Chads or no Chads, they could audit them. So guess what? Maybe we go back to that so that they can't be infiltrated electronically. And then we have people auditing what happens with the elections office. And, with the 23 counties of Jefferson that we have currently, that could be done. That could be done real easily. And we're not cavemen. We can figure it out. We can do it. We've got some brilliant people within the territory of Jefferson. We've got some really smart people that can figure out lickety-split on what to do and how to do it. And I'm not talking about the government officials. I'm talking about the public. I'm talking about the public who are going to be responsible for that because their tax dollars are being spent. They're going to be the ones casting their votes and the ballots. They're going to be the ones carrying the load of being sovereign citizens of this beautiful state. Once we get it done, they're going to reap the rewards for doing so. So I think with all of that in play, it could happen and it could be done very well.
Well, we have finished the Constitution.
We did,
and that was 3.5 years, something like that in the making. And it's the document that we would show.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, can you amend it? Yeah, you can amend it.
Of course, you have to go through a process.
You have to go through a process,
right? But
you can amend it. That's the thing. So, as we look at moving forward in understanding apportionment, that we have to. You're right. We need to fire all the bums, but then by the same token, when we rehire the bums in the state of Jefferson, maybe the Jefferson Northern Jefferson, Southern Jefferson, maybe the state of Madison. I keep saying that. I really like that. because of who Madison was. Many people consider him
We
to
can
be
have
the
multiple
father of the
states.
Constitution.
California could break up into multiple states.
Multiple states.
And when it originally started, when they were originally creating the state of California, they knew it was too big to be a single state, and they were going to do that. But for the time efficiency at that time, they decided just to do it. They just did it, and they said they'll take care of it later. Well, here we are, later. So let's do it. Let's take care of it. Let's get it fixed. And if southern counties want to create the state out there with their own counties breaking up somehow with the like type counties or whatever, however they want to do it, because they're doing it the way they would want to do it. We're doing it the way we would want to do it, and make it happen. It could be a beautiful thing for California to be broken up into multiple states. And then there would be accountability up and down the coastline of the California coastline, if you will, former California coastline with new states, making things happen the way it should happen. And can you imagine how good it would be? It would be huge. It would be huge when the people actually have control of what's going on in their state and in their counties. You know, once they have that control and doing the right thing and holding the politicians accountable to that, that would be a beautiful, beautiful thing.
Yes, sir, and well said. And you know, the thing that really comes to mind is the fact that, you know, again, constitutionally, and this is kind of what the Cal-Exit folks are trying to use. In the California Constitution, Article 18, Section 3 specifically states that the people of California can change the California Constitution through initiative. However, Article 18, Section 3 does not say that California can change the people of California through initiative can change the state constitution to secede from the Union.
Right, right.
And become their own country. That's called sedition. You know, I mean, this is just such stupid stuff. It just blows my mind on how people swallow these things.
Well, it goes back to doing your homework.
Yes.
Asking all the questions and having dialogue with people and getting uncomfortable, because we've had to do that in the past, where somebody will say something and it makes you uncomfortable, but then you have to go down that road to find out, you know, you have this dialogue and you keep asking all these questions and digging up what you need to dig up to make sure that what you're saying and what you're presenting to people is true. Number one, it's got to be true, and it's got to be fact. That it's got to be fact-based on where we currently are governed under, and then also where we want to be governed under in the future. So you have to make sure that you have the balance there and understand what you're doing and not be afraid to be wrong at times. I mean, daily. So,
oh, man.
We've been corrected so many times.
Oh, man.
But do you know what? We've learned from it. And we have great people that are willing to say, hey, no, check this out because of this, this, and this. And we do. And it's like, holy cow, you're right. And we totally misspoke. And we go back and we make those corrections. If we misspoke on something, we are really good about making sure we go back and say, hey, we spoke out of turn. We misunderstood something, but we want to clarify it now, move forward. And that's how you learn. And those types of things get ingrained in your mind. You know those better than the other stuff that you were actually digging up because of the learning curve that was thrown in your lap when you do that. And if we all did that, gosh, just think how wonderful it would be to make that move forward. And truly, you're taking care of your own county, take care of your own state. It doesn't matter what happens in Washington. You know, I mean, it wouldn't as much. I mean, because when you're taking care of what's going on here locally, it filtrates that direction. Others see what's going on. And that's what the fear is with all these people that are in power, that are creating their own wealth off of our backs. They're creating their own wealth, and that's all it's ever about. They want the power and the control, and they want the money. That's all they want. They want to be the top dog, every one of them. And that's what they're fighting and scrapping for. And so they're using us to get there. So guess what? When they can't use us to get there, they have to do something different or just go away.
The price of liberty is eternal vigilance.
Yep.
And that's something I think that we need to understand. See, it isn't just you go to, it's like these folks here, that are down at the amphitheater.
At the walkout today, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's action. I mean, we can educate like crazy, but education without action is useless. It doesn't, I don't care how smart you are or what you know, unless you put it into action, nothing happens. These people put it into action. They understood that what was happening to them was unconstitutional. They stood on the Constitution. The price of liberty is eternal vigilance, and it's what we need to have. You brought up so many good points about, how we need to watch over the government. We need to make sure they're transparent. We need to also make sure that they're following the rule of law. As we've said 100 times, something may be law, but it's not lawful.
Right.
And we have that checks and balances in the Constitution of the said state that you're in, wherever you are, and the Constitution of the United States. What I find remarkable is so many different states being different. There's a thing called the equal footing doctrine. Every new state that comes into the Union is now on equal footing with the original 13 states. So is there BLM? No.
Nope.
You have all these government agencies, and that's something that's going to be a little tricky. Water is going to be a little tricky. There's going to be, who owns what. It'll be kind of tricky. But we did talk to Kamala Harris when she was the Attorney General, the State Attorney General, or not Attorney General. Yeah, she was. And we talked to her and about what would happen with different property, what would happen with prisons, schools, all that stuff, if Jefferson were to become a state. And she said that we would have the jurisdiction over that. There's a couple of things to that. Number one being is that we would have that, but there'd be a checks and balance. In other words, we'd have Caltrans equipment up here that would now be Jefferson Trans equipment. What we probably would do is make sure that we have a group of people taking the VIN numbers off of these particular vehicles, because we want the new stuff, not any old crap they'd want to leave us.
Right, they're going to just do a huge swap out or something.
Right, and the second thing is that there would be committees of separation. These committees of separation would talk about all this stuff, all this complicated stuff, all these different things, what goes where. But we know the prisons would be ours, and we know that the schools would be ours, the Caltrans equipment would be ours, et cetera, et cetera. Now that's from Kamala Harris, and so we're confident in that. There's a lot of, frankly, what I see is a lot of different movements have kind of tried to emulate what happens with Jefferson, but not able really to do it because they don't understand the law. They don't understand what they can do legally, what they can't do legally. I know that a couple of different movements are saying, hey, the Assembly wants to meet with us. Now the Assembly is willing to meet with us. Well, who are those? Not the Assembly, excuse me, the congressmen. Well, who? I've seen on different websites with these folks, that we're going to, they want to meet with us. They reached out to us. Really? They reached out to you? Seriously? They reached out to you and said, "Oh yeah, hey, we want to talk to you guys
something controversial
about your state."
Yeah, they're going to stick their neck out for something controversial like that. Yeah, sure they are.
And of course, this was all over their website. This was New California. It's all over their website, but they didn't say what congressman.
That's kind of.
They didn't say. They said they're reaching out to us. Paul Preston said that. Reaching out? What do you mean, reaching out?
That's kind of like when they were going to meet with the
Seriously?
president. They were going to meet with the president.
They were going to meet with the president. And by the way, remember, the other thing about that is that there was going to be, President Trump was going to come back into power, and then I forget what airborne it was. I think it was I'm not sure which airborne it was, but apparently the Army would march in and then hand the keys over to the New California folks. Yeah, just like that.
How does that work?
Beats the hell out of me. That's the whole thing. I mean, you just
do they have a shadow government set up, which is
they have got their own senators and their own assemblymen, state.
Sounds like a shadow government to me.
We have people right here that are saying
That's
I'm
illegal.
the senator.
That's illegal.
You think?
You can go to the Hooskow for that.
Isn't that insurrection?
Yeah.
Just saying.
That's military tribunals right there.
I didn't vote for anybody for New California.
Neither did I.
And the other problem is that you can't just take, we got 24 million people, now we're going to have apportionment. How's that work? How many people are you going to have? And oh, by the way, you can't have like all these counties here, and then we'll skip over San Mateo, and we'll skip over San Francisco,
right.
And then we'll go back over here, and then we'll go to LA, and we'll go around LA with things not even being contiguous. Now, I'm not saying they have to be contiguous. They don't. But good grief, I mean...
Well, because we have, one of our states, Alaska, isn't contiguous. I mean, some of their islands are intertwined with Canada.
Yes.
So, on the southern part of it. So you have that, but it's contiguous as far as being a state, because up by itself,
Right.
kind of like Hawaii, it's all by
Exactly.
itself, all by its onesie.
Right.
Whereas the rest of the states that are all contiguous do have defined borders.
Right.
And even some of them with islands.
Yes.
It's just the way it is.
Well, the whole point is that, so you're saying that the Congress is reaching out saying, yeah, we really like your plan, but we really don't want Los Angeles and San Francisco in it. What?
Okay.
I mean, it just, and here's the other thing too. I mean, in a lot of discussion with those folks, they don't know anything about the Constitution. I mentioned the word apportionment to one of their leaders. They didn't even know what apportionment meant. I'm not saying that you have to be a word wizard.
No.
But I mean, or this.
But you have to know what you're working with.
At least you have to have some civic lessons.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing is but if you, and that's one thing that Jefferson has done. Again, eternal vigilance is the price of liberty. Now, we work by one rule, and that is you learn the guy's job above you and you teach the guy below you your job.
Right.
Now, we have at least 100 people I can think of off the top of my head that could do a radio program about Jefferson. At least 100 people, more than that, maybe 200 people that could do a podcast on Jefferson. I know at least 100 people that could do a town hall on Jefferson, and all these people talking about it understand the Constitution of the United States.
They do.
And they understand the rule of law, and they understand what they're talking about. And that's because we didn't hide stuff from them.
Right.
It's not about hero worship. Okay, I know
You
that
want them to know what's going on so we can
Right.
perpetuate it and make it
Right.
work, and our bubble grows. And because when we first started out, it was like you're in a bubble, not intentionally. It's just the way it was, and you're trying to learn these things so you can share with others. And as you learned and you shared, those people that you shared with were teaching you things too, because everybody brought something to the table.
Exactly.
Everybody did, and it was good because some of the stuff they brought to the table was stellar, spot on. Just like, oh my gosh, I can't believe we didn't know that. And you're learning all these things, which helps foster the growth of the movement of Jefferson and what we would do as a state and how we would get there. And some of the things that we all brought to the table too were like, they were left on the table. It's like, or they were kicked off the table. It's like, okay, sounds good in theory, but it isn't going to work because of X, Y, and Z, and we all agreed upon that. Because, some things, you can't be idealistic, and that was part of it in the very beginning. We were being too idealistic and thinking, okay, we have to do it this way, we have to be controlled about this, that, and the other. You can't do that, especially when you're working with people from all walks of life. Everybody has their own ideas and opinions, and you have to welcome those. You have to foster those, and you have to engage in those and make it work. And it's opened my eyes on a few things, and I know it's opened other people's eyes too. They go like, oh wow, I didn't think about that. And so you form these friendships, and you form this brotherhood and sisterhood of getting this stuff done. And people are doing amazing things always, and we haven't stopped just because we've had this COVID debacle go on and all these other things going on. It's actually grown more because people are understanding more of what we've been talking about this entire time. Your liberties are being shut down, and that's what's been going on. I mean, when you're talking about the state being under a state of emergency, it isn't.
no.
There's a definitive timeline as to how that operates, and we're way out of that. But the governor is still mandating that we do that. Under his own edict, he's doing that. And then his followers, whether they're the legislature or whoever they may be, they're making that happen. And all they're doing is just saying a mandate. That's all they're doing. And then they perpetuate it up to Joe. So he's doing the same thing, because as California goes, so does the union in a lot of ways. Well, yeah, you have Kamala Harris, who is Californian, who has been in the trenches in California in the ugly stuff. So she's taken it to Washington, D.C. That's why she was chosen. She wasn't elected into that. She was chosen. She was handpicked. And Joe was handpicked because he's a puppet. He can be told what to do and how to do it, and he just does it.
If you can remember.
If you can remember. So all of that happened, and who's really running the country? That is the million-dollar question. Who is really running our country? They're doing a piss-poor job. In my mind, and I'm sure with everybody else, they're doing a piss-poor job, and they need to be gone because they weren't elected by the people. And we know that. I mean, look at the Arizona numbers. Look at the other numbers that are coming out. When are we going to change it? When are we going to fix it? That's the challenge to the other side. When are you guys going to step up and make this right? When are you going to force their hand? Okay, you've got the numbers. What are you going to do? Just saw that reported this week on several different stations and on different radios stations as well. They're all talking about it. When are you going to force it? When are you going to force the hand of making that correct? When are you going to pull it back and say, okay, this has been done wrong, we need to change it, and go back to whoever won,
Yes.
who truly won it? So then that's how that's supposed to work. So we have to make that happen. Is that constitutional? It's in there somewhere. I don't know the Constitution that well, so I don't know. I don't know how to manipulate, or not manipulate, I shouldn't say that, but I don't know how to interpret, that's what I was looking for, how that would work. So I'm sure there are scholars out there that are looking at that on both sides, the other side to save themselves, and the side that we would be on, the Patriot side, are like, no, we need to fix this and make it happen. And I challenge them to do that. Why are they there? I mean, our congressmen, any other congressman that's in the conservative band, why aren't they forcing that? Why aren't they arguing that? Why aren't they stepping up and saying, hey, let's get it fixed and get it done now? Maybe they are, and they just aren't going to let that out of the bag yet. So who knows?
Maybe they don't want to get banned by YouTube.
That could be. That could be. Well, then go home and have some town halls. Talk to your people. Go home and have town halls.
Yeah. Well, I think that, it's sort of like you go back to even when the birth certificate of Barack Hussein Obama, and that he wasn't born in the United States. And there's a lot of evidence to that effect. However, similarly to Joe Biden, what would have happened with all the laws and everything that was passed while Obama was president? Would they have been null and void because he was illegitimate? Now,
even the good ones and the bad ones.
Even the good ones and the bad ones.
Yeah.
Now, that was one of the challenges the Republican Party had to run into.
Mm-hmm.
They were thinking, well, this guy may not be legit, but hey, everything could be null and void legislatively. Now, that's one thing. Now, the other thing is, when you look at Biden, which would probably be a good thing, he's illegitimate. I'll just say it. He's illegitimate. Everybody knows it. You all know it out there. Everybody knows he's illegitimate. Okay, so we have an illegitimate president. Now, what happens if legitimacy is restored? Does that mean everything that he has signed off on is null and void? I'd have to say yes. I don't know how. I mean, it can go to the Supreme Court. Well, we'll see what the Supreme Court says. Well, understand, folks, the Supreme Court has an opinion. They can only give an opinion.
Don't make law. Yeah.
And so if they give an opinion, it's up to the state to adopt that opinion and say, okay. Well,
either we do or we don't.
Yeah, it holds water or it doesn't. It's kind of like, when we went to one man, one vote. That was Reynolds versus Sims. It was sort of the culmination of that in 1964. California didn't adopt that till 66.
Right.
So, we have to start understanding how all this stuff works. Now, I had a good friend who I absolutely love, great guy. He and his wife are a great young couple. But he said, well, I don't really know everything in the Constitution. I don't really know if I have to know everything. Well, you don't maybe have to know everything, but you need to know something. And you can't poo-poo it because feelings only go so far. Mm-hmm. I mean, even with, what's right and what's not right sometimes can only go so far. But if it's constitutionally protected, now we're talking here, And it's funny how everything that's biblically true and protected is constitutionally protected.
Right.
Now, I have my own thoughts on that. I believe that the men were inspired by God who founded this nation. Were they perfect? No. Was David perfect?
No.
Well, David's the first person I want to meet when I get to heaven. I mean, you name it, that guy did it. I mean, he was so imperfect. Yet I was reading, this morning, Psalm 57, and you think, have mercy on me, O Lord. That's the way he started everything. I screwed up again, man.
Yeah.
Because, and then Jesus said, when asked how many times you forgive somebody, 7 times 7 times 7, that could be infinite.
Right.
Point being is that we have to start realizing where this is all coming from. Otherwise, it's going to be over. I mean, it's like this new Idaho thing. Even if it could get done, it might take 10 years. Do we have 10 years? Ask yourself out there, do you have 10 years of liberty left? Do you have any liberty left? We're fighting for everything. Think about this. We are fighting over whether we have to put a face covering on our faces or not. We are fighting over whether or not we should have a jab that is something that isn't even a vaccine that has been proven to be to not cure anything. It doesn't cure anything. I mean, that's just a fact. I hope we don't get banned from somewhere else, from somewhere for saying the truth, but it doesn't cure anything. And you can still get COVID. You can still die from COVID. You can still pass COVID. So why are we doing all this stuff? You know, we're doing it because we're going along. I heard something the other morning on a radio show that really kind of threw me. It was an update from an investment person who speaks on behalf of her company, her bank, on investment. And at the end of her little report, she told the host, "Well, you know what? It cost me $80 to fill my gas up in my car. $80." And the host said, "Well, you know, your electricity is going to go up too." She goes, "Well, I guess I better buy some more blankets." Well, wait. Let's not stand for anything. Let's not say, how does this work? Let's not
question it.
Let's not question it. Let's just get more blankets.
Question everything.
That's the problem.
That's the thing, you know.
That's the problem.
You know, if you don't question it, you get what you deserve. If you don't stand up for something, and after you question, you find out that it's going down the wrong road, it's going against everything that we all stand for, and you're not willing to fight, then you deserve nothing. Truly, I mean, you deserve what you get. So if you're going to leave it to the rest of us to do the fighting, then you're going to have to deal with whatever we can get out of the whatever results we get out of the fight. You're going to have to deal with it, and you can't complain about it. If you're not, it goes back to the same principle. If you're not going to vote, then don't bitch about it. Same thing. If you're not going to fight, then don't bitch about it. You know, don't be standing there with your hand out. Don't be the first one in the cheese line when all this crap goes south on us. Sorry, no. If you're not going to fight for something, then no, not at all. I have a real problem with that. If people aren't going to, and I don't mean physically fighting unless it comes to that, but I mean going out and talking, and whether you want to call it protesting or just getting the word out to people and just educating people, getting yourself educated, you owe that to yourself. You owe it to your family to do that. And you owe it to God to do it. He wants us to fight. He doesn't want us just sit down here and just wait for the things to happen. Like, no, he doesn't want us doing that. If you see something wrong, fix it. By gosh, step up and fix it. He wants warriors. He doesn't want, passive people that are going to be sitting back just, I'm being biblical, I'm being godly. No, you're not. You got to stand up and fight. He wants warriors. He wants people that are willing to fight and whatever it takes to get the job done and to do the right thing, because we're doing it for our children and our grandchildren. I'm doing it for them first. And then if I have any benefit out of it, great. But I'm doing it for my children and my future grandchildren. And that's who I'm doing it for.
You bet. And, that seems to be the response from just about everybody I've ever talked to, which is, and you're so right, my good friend, that's what needs to be done. People need to stand for that. When you watch these things, our podcast, Jefferson State of Mind, share them. Let people know about it. Jefferson State of Mind, MINE. But the name of this episode is going to be The Price of Liberty, Eternal Vigilance. Mm-hmm. That'll be the name of this episode. It's episode 7, The Price of Liberty, Eternal Vigilance. And again, if in fact you want to help us, please send a check to Pecan, P-E-C-A-N, in the memo portion of the check. Please put media, M-E-D-I-A, and the address you send it to is
14421 Old Oregon Trail, Redding, California, 96003.
Can you repeat that one more time?
Sure. The address is 14421 Old Oregon Trail, Redding, California, 96003.
Okay. Freedom ain't free.
It is not. Oh, we are actually, we just got word that we are live on Apple Podcasts, and it's Jefferson State of Mind.
Yeah, we are live
now
on Apple Podcast.
There you go.
Okay.
We're trying to hit the media sources out there so we can spread the word and share it with everybody. And truly, you can call in and you can talk to us about whatever, trips your trigger. You want to bring up something that we've talked about in the past or something that we need to talk about in the future, then we can always do that. And the number for that is 530-255-8063. Again, 530-255-8063.
Well, we've come to the end of another show, and we hope that you gleaned something from this. God bless you all, and really and truly, time has come.
For 51.
We need to get it done.
The sooner, the better.
YMCA. Come out and play. Have you seen the bill we all have to pay? It's not our bill. We had no say. You don't serve us, you serve LA. The time has come for 51 in a Jefferson state of mind. You don't know us, you have no clue, and still you're telling us what to do. We don't know you or what you face. It's time to start a brand new state. The time has come for 51 in a Jefferson state of mind. Jefferson state of mind. Carved from lessons we all learned through time. And to my new state, I will always be true. She's gonna shine in the red, white,